Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Arash Khan chat. This is the chat that we're having about systems thinking and the Vanguard method and the fascinating journey that we had, moving from a software engineer to, systems thinking advocates who help organizations improve, service organizations improve and do better.
Yes, absolutely. The wearing of many hats for you stop becoming the role and you become about the outcome.
Absolutely can't. Now, this is our fourth episode. In the previous 3 episodes, we talked about purposeful organization and how does it feel to be a software developer in a purposeful team. We talked about a team which didn't have a product owner, which Khan was working in, but it was the most agile team that you can even imagine. The team was the ultimate cross-functional team where the developers were embedded in the business, even taking phone calls from customers in the call center, and how awesome it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you can answer to what you're doing and why you're doing it, it changes. Like no one else can go in, oh no, something else is more important, stop what you're doing, and have all those context switches. You can just kind of know and work out together what's the best thing to work on.
Absolutely. Now today we are going to talk about how to get there. If you're in a company that has doing whatever that they're doing and you want to transform or change or move towards that state of having a fully embedded team which is purposeful and delivers fantastic, incredible results for the client, what are the steps? How do we get there? And in particular, the Vanguard Systems Thinking Method, what is their way, their method of transformation and changing? Yeah. Now, let's start there. So what are the 3 steps in Vanguard, Khan?
The 3 steps are check, plan and do. And it's a variation on Deming's, was it check?
Check something.
Yeah.
It's act.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Act's in there, and they swap one of them around as well. But yes, the whole the main thing when you ask about Vanguard, check stands out the most to most people because it provides insight. So it's about understanding the system as it is today, and it's the one where the big penny drop moments usually come from. And literally, it's about looking at things from a customer's perspective and actually looking, because a lot of the time we assume that there's processes and those processes work properly and that customers are getting served and getting what they want when they interact with our organisation. And in reality, reality is not like that. So it's really about getting into the work and understanding and just seeing and almost withdrawing the need to explain it and make excuses. Just watch and see what happens, and you'll learn a lot from doing that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's wonderful. Check. I absolutely agree. Check is the most important part of Vanguard, and actually it's the one which takes, I think, the longest or has more focus on. What's fascinating with check is the way that you do your research, the way that you try to particularly understand the system and organization from external perspective, from the customer's perspective. Like we were saying last time, you can't read a label from inside the jar, right? So the way that it enables you to do that is fascinating. So tell me, Khan, how would you do your research? Would you just, go in the system and dig in data, or go and interview people?
I think the most insightful one, and we still use this to this day, is actually just follow the work. So sit with, something comes through, a form comes into the business, and you follow that form, that ticket, whatever it is, through to the different people, and you actually follow and document. Firstly, say it's a form, but maybe it's a phone call. What do you actually see in the request? What's being said? What is the actual ask? And then you follow that through, and you follow that work as it's being entered into different systems, as it's being handed between different teams, and you watch people. It can be from, when I say watch, it's literally observing. You might even take video recording. So we've had in the past people like with a camera set up behind someone's shoulder as they watch them, how they use their mouse and computer and how many screens they swap between. But you are watching, and you're watching all the impacts of how that work. How do we get to value? Where are the value steps? And naturally, there's a lot of hindrances and waste steps that come up. And these are the things that Check really puts a highlight on identifying, both through just what you're doing in your desktop as a single contributor, as an operator trying to get work done, how you're trying to almost fight the system, if you will.
Yep.
And also then when things hand over to other teams, how that, I guess, the loss of context and how teams are usually inwardly focused on a particular goal, how they've forgotten or they're not aware of the customer goal and how that's so separate in the end. So the organisation's been designed around a so-called efficiency, but it's then forgotten about the why, the purpose in the first place.
Now, there's so many things to unpack in what you just said. So let me just list them all and we can go through.
Sure.
First one was, I would say, could this be intimidating, watching someone and, recording them using a video camera and things like that, which we'll get to that, definitely. And the other one was, I would say, how organizations are organized around efficiencies, and we try to make different components of the system, different parts of the system efficient by making the vertical silos more and more efficient on their own. But by doing that, we are actually creating a suboptimal system enterprise as a whole, because with all the handoffs that happens through the steps of the value stream, you would be losing something. You'd be creating queues, you'd be causing delays and causing inefficiencies from the customer's point of view. We will also talk about that too. But what I want to start with focusing on is what you describe sounds pretty full on. It sounds pretty meticulous and detailed. So tell me, to what level of details would you document things? Let's assume you're in a call center and there's a customer call coming in. What would you document?
We document everything from what the operator who's answering that phone call, what systems they're using, when they're how many systems they jump between. So they'll be like in one particular app, and then halfway through the call they might, do an ID check on the person, and then they'll swap to another application. We'll monitor even if they're using a notepad and what, how often they're switching between what calculations they're doing. But effectively we're looking at a lot of context switches and how many applications do they use. Even the phone, like picking up the phone, and then they might end that phone call and then have to call somebody else up, or even start a instant messenger chat with their team leader because they need advice during the phone call. Anything in order to that, basically anything. But we watch the whole thing. We're not ignoring anything. Even, I haven't experienced this myself, but even if you got an instant message or an SMS, like a personal thing, and you wouldn't necessarily record that, but you would record that it happened, and then there was that distraction, because that it always comes down to the why, what's going on, and you might want to unpack later on why that's occurring. What is it about that? And there would be some really interesting answers. And it's like everything. It would be like watching, sometimes we see people, they're sitting in front of a computer, and this isn't a judgment at all, but they'll be picking up their phone and using their phone's calculator to calculate something rather than their computer that's right in front of them. And probably myself included, I've done this in the past as well. And it's just interesting when you watch these things. They're just very little things, but as you see, that all just builds up, and you just see that value stream about time. You get very aware about how time expires in a phone call, in a phone conversation. So we're recording that at the level of the operator, and we can talk then where it goes after that.
Exactly. And I find it really fascinating, because sometimes I've seen people even record to every single click. How long did it take? If they typed in something in a form, what exactly did they type in? Did they click out and click in again? All those details.
Just there's things like the error messages. There's the things. It's great that you mentioned that, because there's things that are like people do them so quickly. Like if you think about your mobile phone, how many notifications you just swipe on, you're not even knowing what they're doing. And we see this when we follow the work with people, that they're just doing things out of a muscle memory. They're not even bothering, even if it's this thing that happens every single time and it's annoying, they're just so used to clicking it away or getting around it, and they don't even bother talking about it. They don't even realize that they're still doing it. And the only time they probably are cognizant again is that, say they get a new starter in their team, they have to explain the process to somebody else, and they're just like, I'll just ignore that thing. But that's where it begins and ends, and no other manager or IT team, no one else can do anything about it, because they've just almost worked around it.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Now I think we are going to end this video here and continue this conversation about check in our next video. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next video.